I call to order this annual meeting of the Portsmouth City School Board for January 10, 2019. The purpose of this meeting is to reorganize the school board for the coming year. By reorganize, I mean there will be elections of officers, being the chairman, vice chair, committee assignments, the clerk, deputy clerk will be elected. We will go through this in an orderly procedure as we go through the agenda. My name is Sam Meekins. I am counsel to the school board. I have the gavel only because it has become the protocol for this board to let the council begin the informal session, not the business session, of this meeting because there is going to be an election of a chair who will then decide the board will decide who will manage its affairs for the coming year. Before we get underway, I would like to ask us all to observe a moment of silence, and followed by which Sarah Hines will lead us in a pledge of allegiance. So I'd ask us to all stand for those purposes, please. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Hines?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All may be seated. Ms. Hines, would you, Board Member Hines, excuse me, would you read for us, please, the mission statement for the school board?
The mission of the Portsmouth Public School Division is to engage all students in learning that will foster academic excellence and responsible citizenship.
Thank you. Ms. Chambers, would you take the roll, please?
Ms. Allen?
Present.
Ms. Atkinson? Here. Mr. Barnes?
Here.
Mrs. Hines?
Present.
Mr. Lamb?
Present.
Mr. Parent?
Present.
Reverend Patillo?
Present.
Mrs. Shoemake?
Present.
Mrs. Williams?
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, there has been published an agenda that I hope all of you had an opportunity to see and review and contemplate. I would ask if there a motion to approve the agenda that was produced.
Move for approval.
Second.
And I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I will call the question. Would you take a roll call vote on the approval of the agenda, please?
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes.
Mr. Parent?
Yes.
Reverend Patillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
The agenda is approved. I will then go through the agenda. It starts with 3.1, which is calling for a roll call vote to designate a presiding officer until the election of the chair. I've been presiding. This would just make it official that I reside until that point in time. I have a motion. I have a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Would you take the roll call, please?
Miss Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes.
Mr. Parent?
Yes.
Reverend Patillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much. I am elected as the temporary presiding officer. The next thing on the agenda is item 3.2, which is election of the chair of the school board. Before we, I'm sorry, Mr. Lamb?
I was going to say acting presiding chair. If it would not be too much, I think with consideration of the new board members that we do have, if there could be an explanation of I guess, rules or how this operates, how this flows and how this goes.
Absolutely, and I will be glad to do that. I would like the board to know that there's two guiding principles that are found in the school bylaws that affect this. The first guiding principle is that the bylaws say that the school board will operate by the will of the majority. That would mean that I don't care how many candidates we will have a votes until we have a majority for a candidate. Also, the bylaws say that Robert's rules will control absent, Robert's Rules of Order, will control absent any other specific requirements in our policies or procedures. I found nothing in the election policies and procedures under the state code or our policies that would alter the use of Robert's rules. The reason I'm bringing that up is I don't know how many people will be nominated for any position. But if there are more than 2 people nominated for a position and the vote does not produce a majority for one of the candidates, under Robert's rules, you do not drop the lowest vote getter. They stay in. And the reason Robert says you do that is because they may end up being the drop back vote for others when you're at a stalemate regarding a winner. So if we were to have 3 candidates and have a 4-3-2 vote, we would take a break, come back, vote again until we have a majority winner. Now, I'd also, since we're not going to remove it, I'll also say that while we're doing the vote, if you were here last year, you know it got a little fuzzy, but here's the way I think we should do the vote this year to make sure we're clear. I will ask Ms. Chambliss to do a roll call vote after, of course, we have the nominations, which, by the way, do not require a second. After the nominations are made and finalized, Ms. Chambliss will read the roll call vote. Your response should be the name of the person that you want to have that office. So we'll go through one time. Everyone will announce that person. Ms. Chambliss will then announce the results, and if it's not enough, we'll take a brief recess and then go back at it again. The reason for the recess is to let everyone have a moment to think about what they're going to do as we go forward. I will then, after that, when she announced, I will declare the winner based upon the tabulation of votes and pass the gavel to the winner, and the new chair will then preside over the remainder of the meeting for this meeting and for the year, absent a catastrophe, which we hope doesn't occur. All right, thank you. That having been said, the floor is open for nominations for the position of chair of the school board for the city of Portsmouth. Ms. Atkinson.
I would like to nominate Claude Parent.
I have a nomination for Claude Parent. Any other nominations? Mr. Barnes.
I would like to nominate Angela Allen.
I have a nomination for Ms. Allen. Any other nominations? I will declare the floor closed for nominations. We have 2 candidates now. We have the presiding chairman, and we have Ms. Allen. Would you like to make any comments in regard to the election, Mr. Chair?
I have the last 3 years been very fortunate to be your chair. And the 2 years prior to that was your vice chair. So it is always an honor to serve at the pleasure of the board. I've always said, the chair has a lot of responsibilities. It's not just this meeting. It's all the meetings and all the details that have to be done prior to this meeting. This is the easy part. The other part is all of the preparation that has to be done prior to it. It is a great honor to be nominated, and I do appreciate the nomination. And I think that going forward, one of the things that I really feel passionate about is that I think that we can be a board of distinction. The checklist that I looked at, it's going to take us 2 years because we have 2 new board members. And based on the criteria of being a board of distinction, we can do it. And I think that in 2 years at VSB conference, we should be a board of distinction. Another passion that I have that I would like as a board member and to work with you is that I feel very passionate that all kids can learn. And We can continue to look at the CTE programs that all of you are passionate about, which we've done a lot with, and early childhood education is a very passionate. But also, I think that we need to look at the advanced placement classes, and one of the things that during my campaign that I campaigned on was to incorporate international baccalaureate. That's going to be a process, and I understand that. But I think that we need to raise the bar because the surrounding school divisions offer IB courses, and we can't say that our children can't raise the level of excellence. So with that said, I appreciate the nomination, and if I'm elected, I will certainly do my very best to continue to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Parent. Ms. Allen.
First of all, I appreciate the nomination for position of chair of the school board. Like Mr. Parent said, it is a intense job that is more than just doing the meetings. I can offer my time, my experience, my expertise, and my ability to work well with others in moving the school division forward. Each and every person on this board is an integral part of moving Portsmouth Public Schools forward, and I would be more than honored to have that opportunity to work well with our city council, with our community, and with the other members of this board, along with our superintendent, to move Portsmouth Public Schools forward. So I appreciate the nomination, Mr. Barnes, and I would serve you with dignity, honor, and respect.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. All right, members of the board, I will now ask Ms. Chambliss to call the roll. I will ask you just to respond with either Parent or Allen as the response. That way we can tabulate the vote on one voting round, and we'll see. We should have a winner with two unless somebody tries to abstain. So would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Allen.
Allen.
Ms. Atkinson.
Parent.
Mr. Barnes.
Allen.
Mrs. Hines.
Allen.
Mr. Lamb.
Allen.
Mr. Parent.
Parent.
Reverend Patillo.
Parent.
Mrs. Shoemake.
Parent.
Mrs. Williams.
Parent.
5 yes votes for Mr. Parent, 4 for Ms. Allen.
Ladies and gentlemen of the school board, I declare that Mr. Claude Parent has been elected chairman of the school board for calendar year 2019. Congratulations, Mr. Parent.
Sorry.
Again, thank you for this opportunity to serve you for this year. I'm looking forward to it, looking forward to working with you. And, of course, I see members of our city council that are here. Our honorable mayor is here, and we have Mr. Simmons here, and I think, there we go. Mr. Glover's here, and I don't see anybody else. Thank you all very much for coming, and we have members of the audience and staff. So look forward to a great year ahead of us, okay? The next item on the agenda is the election of the vice chair. At this time, I would like to have nominations for vice chair. Ms. Williams.
I nominate Carvel Patillo for vice chair.
Okay. Ms. Hines.
I would like to nominate Angelia Allen for vice chair.
Other nominations? And the nominations closed. Reverend Patillo, would you like to make a comment?
Thank you for the nomination. I believe I have the experience with being regional chair for the Virginia School Board Association. I also served on the board of directors for the association and served on the board of directors for the Virginia Public School Authority. I've served the board well for the last 4 years and 1 month now. I'm present in our schools, present when needed with our teachers and in our community, and I thank you for the nomination.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
As my previous statement, I would definitely service with dignity, honor, and respect. I, too, am in the community. I, too, am in the schools. I, too, serve on a number of boards. So my board experience is very extensive. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to serving, whether in vice chair capacity or as a board member. But I would serve you well as a board member, and I have the time and energy to be able to serve you well.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Allen?
Miss Atkinson,
Patillo.
Mr. Barnes,
Allen.
Mrs. Hines,
Allen.
Mr. Lamb,
Allen.
Mr. Parent,
Patillo.
Reverend Patillo,
Patillo.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Patillo.
Mrs. Williams.
Patillo.
5 yes votes for Reverend Patillo, 4 for Miss Allen.
Congratulations.
Mr. Patillo, you may take this seat. Next to the chair. Huh?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll switch over.
Grab your.
Before Mrs. Williams leaves, I want to thank her for her untiring dedication, not only as a board member, as a friend, but vice chair of the school board, and we really appreciate all of your work. And I think you need a round of applause and standing ovation.
I would like to say thank you for allowing me to serve on the board as your vice chair for the last 2 to 3 years. And I wanted to nominate Mr. Patillo because he has done an outstanding job in the community. He is one of the few school board members that was recognized nationally with the Benjamin E. Mays National Award in Las Vegas. He's our regional chair. He works in the community. People know him. They trust him. He was the top vote getter for the school board this time. Mr. Parent was the second top vote getter. So I think, we always need a little change up. So, hey, I've been here for 10 years, going on 12. It seemed like forever. But I do have a lot of confidence in Mr. Parent to continue and Mr. Patillo to step in whenever he's not available. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I'd like, as we move forward, to recognize our 2 new board members. First of all, Mrs. Tamara Shoemake, school board member.
Thank you.
And I wanted to say Dr. DeAndre
Go
Barnes.
ahead.
Congratulations and welcome aboard. Vice Chair. Congratulations. All right, the next item on the agenda is the election of the clerk of the school board.
I would like to nominate Kathy Chambliss.
Second.
Amen.
Well, you looked at me and smiled. Get it going.
Seeing that there are no other nominations,
That's usually the key.
I guess we have to call to be legal.
This needs to be elected.
I got to be elected.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson,
Kathy Chambliss. What? Yes.
Is it yes?
Yes.
Only one running. Only one.
Either way, I think here.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Thank you. The next item is the election of the deputy clerk of the school board. Do we have nominations, Mr.
I nominate Ms. Brenda Stewart.
Nominations for Ms. Brenda Stewart. Any other nominations? Hearing any other nominations? Nominations closed. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
I need to go back and declare the winner according to the attorney. Our clerk of the board is Kathy Chambers. And now the deputy clerk of the school board is Brenda Stewart. And I just want to say thank God for both of you. You know how to keep us straight, keep everything going, and we appreciate your hard work. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a roll call vote, is giving the superintendent authority to make those decisions. Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson.
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
No, it's not there. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. The next item on the agenda is the roll call vote, the agent and deputy agent. Consideration to appoint Mr. Theodore L. Falk as agent and Dr. Eli Bracy III deputy agent for the Portsmouth City School Board without additional compensation in compliance with Section 22.1-122B of the Code of Virginia for the 2019 school year. What is the board's pleasure? Motion's been made. Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry. Second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Madam Clerk.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
The next item on the agenda is roll call vote, appointment, the superintendent's designee. Consideration to appoint Mr. Theodore L. Falk as designee of the superintendent without additional compensation in accordance with Section 22.1-76 of the Code of Virginia for the 2019 school year. What is the board's pleasure?
Move for approval.
Motion's
Second.
been made and second. Any discussion? Hear no discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is going to be the fun part. These are boards and commission assignments that we must vote on. The special committees and assignments, that is, excuse me, that is determined by the chairman. At this time, the first is the election of a delegate and an alternate to the annual VSBA convention. Last year, I'll just tell you, last year, Ms. Hines was the delegate, Mrs. Williams was the alternate, Mrs. Hines could not attend, so Mrs. Williams became the alternate. Do we have any nominations that would like to be the delegate to the annual VSBA conference that will be held in Williamsburg?
Hang on. I'll go to 3.15.
Oh, right here.
Where-
That's right here.
We are at 3.9.
3.9.
We're voting on 3.9, but the general list is listed in 3.15.
Okay.
On this
Yep.
3.9.
It's not
For those that like a visual.
Anyone wanting to be the delegate? Now that, Ms. Williams has been the delegate, I've been the delegate before. It's at 2 o'clock on the, and you, they give you a thick notebook, and they send it to you digitally, and you'll be voting on behalf of the Portsmouth school system. So, do we have, Mr. Lamb, did you raise your hand? Or do I need to? No.
I move that Sarah Duncan Hines be the delegate and Ms. Williams be the alternate if they so choose to do so.
Ms. Williams?
Ms. Williams declines as the alternate. I've been the delegate since I've been
Right.
on here. Then when I was the alternate, I was still the delegate. So I think someone else deserves an opportunity.
Okay.
And if somebody so wishes to have that opportunity, I have no problem. The first year I was the delegate, we had a family vacation planned, and then this time we had a family death. And so my time off for that preceded me to be able to go to this. So if anybody else would like to step up and have it, then so be it.
Mr. Lamb?
Well, then I so move that Ms. Atkinson be the delegate and Reverend Patillo be the alternate.
He's the chair.
I'm on the chair of the region.
He's the region.
The region, okay.
Yeah, so somebody else will have to be there. I don't want to be just.
The Virginia School
Running out
Board.
of names.
Atkinson will be, you've been nominated for,
Thank you, Board Member Lamb, but I decline.
all right.
I will nominate myself to step up.
Nominate Angelia.
Nominate myself.
And then you need an alternate.
Yeah, I was going to
we have to
nominate
have an
you,
alternate.
Angelia.
Yeah, I said I'm nominating myself as a
I'll take
delegate.
the alternate.
All right.
Yep.
All right. At this time, Angelina Allen has been nominated, basically agreed to be the delegate to the convention. Thank you very much. And Ms. Hines is going to be the alternate. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the election of a director and alternate to the governor's school. Currently, Reverend Patillo is the director, and we do not have, Reverend Fleming was the alternate. So Reverend Fleming? Reverend Patillo. You want to remain the delegate? Sure. We have a nomination. Anyone would like to be, in case he cannot attend the meeting, to be the alternate? What about any of the new, yes?
I was going to request to go back up for CSEP, which is at the same time as the governor's school, so it would only make sense.
Right.
Oh.
Be each other's alternate.
Oh,
Because we're at the same building at the same time.
all right. So Ms. Allen will be the alternate.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Need a motion.
Need a motion.
We need
So
a motion.
move.
Who made?
I made the motion that Miss Allen be the delegate or whatever.
Reverend Patillo is,
He's the alternate.
Oh,
this
you're
is the governor's
representative.
school of the
Governor's
arts.
Alternate.
Okay, Ms. Patillo is the representative.
Is the director, and Ms.
And
Allen is
is
the alternate.
alternate.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
The next item on the agenda is the election of a representative and alternate to WHRO Governing Board of Directors. Currently, Ms. Atkinson is the representative to WHRO, and Mr. Ted Lamb is the alternate.
I would like to keep that.
Good. Thank you.
If
Would you like-
nobody else would like.
I'm willing, sir.
Great. So Ms. Atkinson and Mr. Lamb,
I make a motion that Ms. Axon will remain the representative and Mr. Lamb is the alternate for WHRO.
Second.
there's a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
The next item is the Southeastern Cooperative Educational Program known as CSEP. Currently, Ms. Allen is the representative and Reverend Patillo is the alternate. And I think that, yes.
I was going to say I make a motion that Miss Allen. Did we vote on both at the same time?
We didn't.
Okay.
It's a separate
So I
item.
make a motion that Miss Allen be the representative and Reverend Patillo be the alternate.
Okay?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Miss Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
The next item on the agenda is the election of a representative and alternate to WHRO Governing Board of Directors. Currently, Ms. Atkinson is the representative to WHRO, and Mr. Ted Lamb is the alternate.
I would like to keep that.
Good.
if-
Thank you.
if
Would you like-
nobody else would like.
I'm willing, sir.
Great. So Ms. Atkinson and Mr. Lamb.
I make a motion that Ms. Axon will remain the representative and Mr. Lamb is the alternate for WHRO.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
The next item is the Southeastern Cooperative Educational Program known as CSEP. Currently, Ms. Allen is the representative and Reverend Patillo is the alternate. And I think that, yes.
I was going to say I make a motion that Miss Allen. Did we vote on both at the same time?
We didn't.
Okay.
It's a separate item.
So I make a motion that Miss Allen be the representative and Reverend Patillo be the alternate.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
The next item is the election of a representative, Access College Foundation. Currently, Ms. Atkinson is the delegate and Mrs. Hines is the alternate. Would you please like to continue to serve? Very good. Do I have a
Move
motion?
for approval.
Motion's been made. Do I have a
Second.
second? Do I have a second? Mr. Lamb seconded. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the election of a representative and alternate Q. Currently, we had Dr. Whitaker and Reverend Fleming, and so we're going to need two new people. We have any nominations for Q?
I'd like to nominate Ms. Tamara Shoemake as a representative for
All right.
Q.
And I would also like to see Mr. Barnes as well, whether as the delegate or the alternate, or the representative and the alternate, just because I think it's a good, to get acclimated and to see things from different viewpoints.
Right. And I think the annual convention is
September.
September.
Is it in Texas this year or?
That's this year.
Yeah. All right. So we have Tamara Shoemate as the representative, and the alternate will be Deandra Barnes. Is that what I've heard? DeAndre. Excuse me. Correction. DeAndre. Yes.
Yep. Move for
I have a
approval.
motion. Motion's been made.
Second.
And second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Miss Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Atkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Reverend Patillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemake,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Parent.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
There are special committees. The CTE Advisory Committee was composed of Dr. Whitaker and Ms. Hines. Do I have that is a special committee that we as a board,
I move that Tamara Shoemake be on that advisory committee, and the alternate or whatever was Sarah. You want to stay with that?
okay,
Tamara takes Ingrid.
okay,
Unless anybody else. But
right. The representative will be Ms. Tamara Shoemate, and the alternate will be Sarah Duncan Hines. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Motion's been made and second.
That's the discussion.
I said, is there any discussion?
No, this-
There is no discussion. Oh, no
Vote
vote.
on it.
So we don't vote.
We're just talking
Oh, that's
about
right,
that
that's right.
special committee.
This special committee, we added,
You signed it.
right. And I signed it, but I just want to get input. All right, Student Disciplinary Committee, ad hoc. We need to talk about that at the next meeting. Of previous conversations that we as a board, because of the way the SOLs is going to be determined with attendance and for also dropouts, that we as a board, we're going to talk about looking at what the code allows us to have a panel of board members, because if we don't, then we can have students out for an indefinite period of time, and those 10 days go by very quickly. So Dr. Bracy and I will discuss, in other words, this will be on the 24th agenda.
I was going to say I
Exactly.
would like to remain on that committee and also look at ways on how we can expand that if that's going to be on.
No, I want you to, I want you to be on the committee. Okay. All right. I'm going to remove myself as the chair. So would anybody like to volunteer? Zackerson would like to remain on the committee, and I'd like for her to remain on the committee. It's one that the chair assigns. DeAndre Barnes. Okay.
And Ted had his.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to get fans at y'all, these pencils. Go ahead.
You said you were taking for
He wanted
volunteers.
to be on that committee as well.
Oh, you wanted to be.
Well, I mean, it's Chairman. It's your decision. I mean,
All right.
yeah.
On the 24th, if you look at the special committees and assignments, if you look at your agenda, last year I put together the committee responsibilities, and what I'd like for you to do is to email me your preference where you would like to serve, and I will have that ready for you on the 24th. Okay? Moving along. The next item is the discussion concerning the January 24th agenda. Dr. Tracy.
Good evening to everyone. And I'd like to first.
Chair.
I'm sorry, Dr.
I'm
Brace.
sorry.
Before we move on, being that the MWBE has a upcoming meeting and possible legislative sessions, I was wondering, could we go ahead and assign on that?
Well, this is what I was going to do, is that you would be the chair. I mean, you would be the representative.
Okay, so
And,
I'll work with her.
all right, Ms. Williams. All right.
Quick question, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Just so that, it's all out in the open, could we not have a short discussion as to who's interested in what positions publicly?
Correct.
So that on the ones that you actually appoint.
Right.
So that we know who's interested in what.
Right. And the only reason why she's bringing it up is because there is a...
No, and I understand that. But being as though, so that we all know what someone's interested in. If someone is interested in something I'm willing to step away from.
Sure.
If they're only emailing you.
Right.
The rest of us don't know who has an interest in what committee.
Okay. Then email everyone. What I do basically is the committees that you're passionate, then I take that in consideration, and then I will send that out to you. Then anybody who wants to have a passion for another committee, I certainly will consider that.
So
Great idea.
You don't want to have a discussion in open session at this point as to who's interested in which committee.
So just to get it public.
I mean, if you want to take the time to do it tonight, it's fine with me.
Here.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. We could do that. Can you just hold on with the agenda and we'll go on? All right. The first one is budget and finance, and that normally has been in the past the chair and the vice chair. As chairman, I personally, because it's the budget, and I'm working with Dr. Bracy, and I would like to remain as chair, as a member of that committee. Been on that committee for 5 years, and Reverend Patillo and I have worked together, so I don't know if anybody else has any.
Yes, I move that you and the chair and the vice chair remain on that. I didn't serve on it. Mr. Patillo served.
Because right.
So I move that the two of you, because you really have to meet and discuss things
got a
with the
meeting next week.
superintendent. I move that the two of you remain on budget.
We don't need a motion. We don't need a motion. We don't need a motion. These are just appointed by the chair.
okay.
These are appointed by the chair.
Okay.
So if you don't, any of you have a problem, if Mr. Parent and Reverend Patillo can remain on the budget committee, I would strongly recommend that. That's what I was going to recommend. Okay. City Council liaisons. Ms. Allen is currently, and Mrs. Williams are currently.
I will remove myself from council liaison. I think I've been there for 2-3 years.
Okay.
I would like to remain as council liaison.
I would recommend either you or Mr. Patillo as the vice chair.
You had your hand.
And I'd like to be considered for as well as the council liaison.
Okay.
And they do meet in the morning.
Do they?
You can. Oh, they do.
Yeah.
If you can come.
Anybody else?
How early?
Did you note that I would like to remain as the council liaison?
Yes, I've
Okay,
got
thank
that.
you.
Okay, I will certainly consider that. All right.
Thank you.
As we move along, corporate sponsorship, Dr. Whitaker and Ted Lamb were both on that committee.
Go ahead. Who's that?
I would like to be on that committee.
That's been a committee.
Chairman Parent, I would like to be on that committee, but I would like elaboration on what has happened, or just can you, if Mr. Lamb can explain what has progressed within the last year, that way we know if we're selected what we're getting into.
Mr. Lamb?
I can elaborate with regards to
Go ahead.
that committee. It is a committee that was adopted and originated even before I came on board.
Right.
It's had mixed reviews, mixed results with it. Personally, I think it's a committee that if we continue to have it, it probably should be expanded a little more with regards to its scope and sequence of what it's supposed to be. So, of course, that would probably have to be something that you, Mr. Chairman, or the policy committee would have to look at to expand those responsibilities. But I think when it originated, and again, I wasn't here to speak to it, but I think it had a good intent and purpose, but it hasn't been able to take off, or it hasn't been able to flourish
Right.
as well as we wanted it to.
If you have it, it's on the page. Let me give you a little history. When I was on, I think it was in, when I was elected in 2010, Dr. Mark Whitaker and myself were assigned by the board to look at corporate sponsorships, because at that time we were trying to get corporate to the football stadiums, putting signs up and paying. In other words, getting corporate to do like other school divisions, to display their signs and pay the school system. We did hire an attorney to work with us. We also interviewed Nike. There were several other sports companies that Dr. Whitaker and I interviewed, and Nike they've got the bids, and they continue, I think, to give us discounts. That's how that corporate sponsorship got into play. But not, and I don't think anything has been done. The attorney, unfortunately, is deceased. And so Dr. Inker Whitaker and Mr. Lamb were appointed to that continuing. I would like to see us do something. It really has not done a lot, because it kind of just faded away. And if it's not something that we're going to be serious as a board, then I think that may be a committee that we can eliminate. Ms. Hines?
I would also suggest that in this corporate sponsorship, that we include our athletic director for the, our division AD in there, because they're the ones who are most in contact with the suppliers. You may want to consider putting a purchasing person in, just so that we can look at, so when you do have these meetings, you've got people from all different walks that touch athletics.
Right.
That collective knowledge could come to the table and be fruitful.
Right. Okay, very good. Thank you for your input. The next is curriculum and instruction. That is Ms. Williams and Ms. Hines.
I would like to remain.
Williams, I hope that y'all, thank you very much. Anybody else would interested in, they've been working with Dr. Wynn, so I would like to continue that. Human Resources, that's Ms. Williams, and then, of course, Mr. Reverend Fleming is not here. That is a committee that meets with Mr. Ziegler and the HR department, and those are kind of private meetings because you deal with some personnel issues, and they review all of the personnel with you, including the HR handbook, employee handbook, and all of that. So, Ms. Williams, are you willing to remain on that committee?
Yes, I'll remain.
Now, can we have a new? You're interested?
Yes.
Yandra? Are you in?
Still I am.
Still in? Okay. And what I'm going to do when I look at these committees, I'm going to try to balance all of us so that we're all,
Can I ask something about that committee?
Sure.
Because there's been several times where things have been out in public and we as a board did not know about. And I understand the nature of human resources and the confidentiality of it as well. But I would also like to see too, I'm going to go back and call it the phone tree, as my granny used to call it. If there is something that is pressing that is going to hit, that maybe that we need to be aware of before we can meet as a group to discuss, if there can be just a phone call about a heads up in the old phone tree system, to keep that confidentiality, but also to keep us out of formal meeting laws, so that we are not breaking any code. But I think there have been some instances where we needed to know, where it would have been helpful for us to keep poker faces, and that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
So I would like that to be considered as a part of this.
And part of that too, Ms. Hines, is that Dr. Bracy is very good about if there's something coming up, that he will get an email to us or the phone tree to give us a heads up of what's happening. So that's something we'll stay ahead of. Okay. Thank you for bringing that. The next item is a fun one. I was on that committee, legislation and policy. Ms. Allen is currently on that, along with Fleming, and new board members. You know that we have a policy manual. If you go on our website, we used to have one before it was posted, but we got one that fixed. So there are lots of policies that are handed down to us by the SBA and their attorney. So we have to be very careful of adopting any policy that has not been cleared through the SBA and their attorney, because otherwise they won't support us if we get into trouble.
I'd like to remain on legislative and policy, please.
Okay. Do I have some?
I'd like to be on that as well.
That's going to be a good one. A lot of good reading. Minority contract business policies, I think we've taken care of that one.
One, right?
We only have
We
one.
only
Now,
have one.
Ma'am?
We only have one for that.
No one else.
All right, Ms. Williams and
Oh, Ms. Williams.
Ms. Atkinson is going to be,
I missed
then Ms. Williams, just Ms. Williams and Ms. Atkinson. We've already done that one.
Totally missed that one.
And then the technology operation, that was one I was on when I first got on the board, and that's a lot of fun with.
Well, hold 1 second.
Excuse
I was
me.
interested in that one as well.
Excuse me?
I was interested in minority contract business policies as well.
All right. I'll put your name down. Thank you. Anybody else? Technology and Operations, Mr. Lamb and Reverend Patello.
I'd like to remain.
Yeah,
I'd like to remain.
and I would like both of y'all to remain because y'all have done some really good work with them in building a relationship. Okay, thank y'all very much for that input. I'll put this together and I'll have it ready for you.
We missed
Ma'am.
one.
The wellness.
Oh,
The wellness.
I got to be well. Thank you. Wellness Committee. That was a special committee that we decided as a board that we were going to look at. Right now, Ms. Atkinson is the alternate. And anybody want to talk about wellness?
I mean, I was at the last meeting. I don't know how I.
You
Was that wellness I was over with Miss?
That was a special meeting, yeah.
Yes,
You were at the policy meeting to
the
develop
wellness.
the new wellness
That was from
policy.
curriculum and instruction, or was that the wellness?
It was the wellness committee.
Okay.
You were at the
Well, I can serve on that if you
I'd
need
love for you
someone
to.
They don't
Yeah.
meet but once a
to. Yeah, they don't meet but once a year.
And that Ms. Williams and Ms. Atkinson going to keep us, well, I can tell you a lot about keto. Y'all going to be on keto diet. All right. Now, Dr. Bracy, we will discuss any other comments, board members? All right. We will
All right.
do the January 24th meeting.
All right. Well, first of all, I was going to congratulate Mr. Parent, Reverend Patillo, the Chair and Vice Chair, and also Ms. Chambliss and Ms. Stewart, Clerk and Deputy Clerk. Attached, you will find the Thursday, January 24th regular meeting agenda. If you've had a chance to look through that to see if there's anything that you would like to discuss that we do not have listed under the agenda items, which you can, if you don't know now, you can send me an email, and if there's any addition, I'll make sure that I'll share with Mr. Parent.
Right.
Mr. Parent, I would like to add on the agenda discussion of school board pay.
The school board.
Discussion of school board pay on the agenda.
Yes, and we discussed that, and I think you gave us a legal.
Needs to be a non-election year, and 1 year before it can go into effect if it's changed. So this would be a legal time to discuss school board pay.
And for new board members, we are the lowest. We are the lowest paid school board. We don't do this because we're going to get rich. But I think the last discussion that we had is that we would like to, if I remember, if I recall, we would like to be at least on par with Suffolk. The others are, you can go online and find out what they make. The other divisions make a lot more. But I think that at least if you look at districts that we are comparable, Suffolk and we ought to be at least on par with Suffolk. So that will be something that we can discuss. Okay. Glad you brought it up because I think that I recall it would have to be 19 to do that. So
Discussion.
You want early session?
oh yes, put it in the early session. Okay. Now, clarification, Mr. Meekin. Does the state have to, in other words, if we decide to raise it to a figure, who actually approves that? Does is that approved by the State Board of Education?
No, that's the school board.
Our recollection, school board.
The school board. But I didn't know once we approved it, does it have to go? Okay.
No.
I was reading in that code that I got confused that once the board made the decision that it would have to be approved by. All right.
I'll look at that, sir, but my belief
That's
is,
great.
as I sit here, that it's your call.
That's great. Good. All right.
Okay.
I would also like to discuss the uniform policy at Craddock Middle School.
Uniform policy across the board, or just because they're the only one? I think Craddock is the only school that has the uniform.
Yes.
And I'm glad we're discussing because, you know, when we first talked about this, anytime you have items on the agenda, please email the superintendent and copy me, because then Ms. Chambers is responsible because she's got to get it into the paper. And that she's got a deadline that when she sends me, I've got to approve it. Now, he looks at it, I look at it, and but if you've got items just like tonight that you want to add to the agenda, please let him know, copy me, and we'll make sure that those items get on the agenda. Okay? All right, good.
Mr. Parent, where would you like the uniforms?
We can do that at the early meeting. I don't see any reason
Yeah, we got four hearings.
That's going to happen.
And one has a.
we've got closed, and then we've got determination, and then we've got a budget update, and the new CTA program. Do we have any other? Is that it?
We have one appeal
One appeal,
so far.
Budget update.
and then we can do the discussion of the school board pay.
So if not, we got the work session coming up in February that we can look at. That'll give you more time because I don't think.
CTE together.
If we can't, DeAndre, if we can't get it, if we can't do it on the 24th, then we can do it in
I didn't see it up there.
February.
It's in the
And board docs.
it's on board docs. Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's on board docs. Yeah.
Chair.
Yes.
9.2 will be coming off, so that'll free up a little bit of time in the early session.
That's good.
9.2 will be. I'm sorry, I
Will be
didn't.
deleted from that meeting. The hearing is not happening.
9.2 will be deleted.
Oh,
9.2
So
will
that
be
can be
deleted.
eliminated.
well, then there you go.
We're good.
Then we can do it then. Ms. James, put it. Ms. James,
We can always
we can do
make
both
it-
of those early meetings because we've taken off, the early meeting, we've taken off employee termination 18-1901. I've just been informed by Mr. Ziegler that is off the agenda for the 24th. So then we can insert the uniform policy.
Okay, but just
Will there
keep in
still
mind
be
you
a
have 4
discussion?
cases.
We have
Nothing.
4
Okay.
cases, but so far you have 1 appeal. So if any of those appeal, then you have to add those.
We may have to look at it. We'll get together.
All right, okay. He and I, we'll work it out. But we definitely will get it on the agenda for us to discuss, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman?
Yes.
Not for January's meeting because I think it's too quick of a turnaround, and we've already discussed the jam-packedness of January's meeting. But I would also like for us to look at recess times for our elementary schools to increase the recess times, and I think that needs to be a discussion that curriculum and instruction need to have as far as putting together the master schedule. I would also like to just have some dialogue about it because I do believe that extending recess, especially in our K-2 schools, gets out a lot of energy for some kids and I'm looking at the special ed population and diagnosing kids that soon, but to give them a chance to get up and to be kids, I think we need to look at too. But and maybe that's a February discussion, work session kind of thing, not necessarily a dais discussion.
Right.
But I think we need to have at least some discussion about that because
I think if you saw the news last night, Virginia
Virginia
Beach is looking at that, and they're going to make a decision sometimes in the spring for the 19th. Ms. Atkinson?
I was going to say, whoever's on the legislative and policy committee, that there was a law that was passed regarding that, and it was HB 1419, SB 273, if you guys want to take a look at it.
yes, you can count it as instruction time now.
Right.
And so if we can, even if it's another 10 minutes, break it up in the morning and the afternoon, but I
Right.
think a lot of our students would benefit from just some free activity. Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Got that on the agenda. All right.
I think we can look at that with the curriculum instruction first.
Ms. Hines?
Yes.
Dr. Bracey's informing me that they're going to look
We're going to meet with
two of you will
with
meet
the
with
committee first.
Okay.
Yeah, before we
two
put it
will
on
meet
the.
with-
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
I love
y'all will bring your recommendation or whatever back to the
I
board.
take my high schoolers
We've
out.
got some other items to talk about anyway with the curriculum instruction committee, so we can add it to that agenda.
Very good.
HB what?
All right, Dr. Bryson, anything?
Chairman Parent.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, since we getting ahead of like the laws and things like that, maybe the legislative policy committee need to take at, being that we're going to have a dispensary in Portsmouth, and some of our students are going to be prescribed medical marijuana, that we may have to look at our policy to make sure that they are protected in school if they are prescribed that.
That's true. That is true.
What's the policy?
That would be the policy. That would be,
The
Angelia.
policy.
Once he designates, yeah.
Yes.
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 Maybe Angelia, maybe DeAndre.
Well, consider yourself
Nobody else-
designated, so if I can get it,
No. But nobody else is on that one.
consider yourself designated.
Not a problem.
Y'all move on, move forward.
Oh, yeah, employees too.
Anything else? Dr. Bryce, excuse me, go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. And this goes back to, speaking of policy that we've discussed in the past, and our building use throughout the month, I was wondering if it would be possible to get building facility usage reports, whether by month or by quarter, because this goes back to a policy that we've kind of tabled at this point, but I think if we're going to talk about security within our buildings that are outside of our school days, we need to know who, the what, the when, and how often, so that we can effectively legislate and make sure that we have policies that are in place for that. But that is going to start with doing a building facility review, whether it's monthly or quarterly, whichever the superintendent and his staff feel is more appropriate.
Okay.
Because at this point, we really don't know in full scope who's in our buildings and how that would impact that.
Right. All right. Dr. Bryce?
Yeah, that's fine. And we're in the process of moving it from paper to online process. Will help us track it even more so.
Okay.
And then we can get, once that's done, we can get those reports.
Okay.
And we can see that. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Dr. Bracey, do you have any other items that?
No, sir.
Okay.
I did want to say that
Next time
the legislative packet for the Virginia School Board Association was emailed to everyone, and lobby day for education is on the 21st. Yeah, the 20. No, I'm sorry, the 20 Capitol Conference Day. It was the 28th, but that's our actual. No, wait a minute.
Is it the
It's
21st?
this Monday coming up.
It's the 21st. Something
Then it's
is
the
this
20th.
Monday.
This Monday coming up.
The 14th.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
it is lobby day.
14th.
So many of us will be traveling to Richmond for lobby days.
It's this Monday.
And that's
Okay.
when
Thank you.
28 is this
Ms.
Monday coming up.
Shoemake and
Okay.
Mr. Barnes will be going to the new member orientation.
Legislative, I thought it was Angelia.
Yes, on the 15th.
But
No, he's talking
have
about
member
for the
orientation.
new
Yeah,
orientation.
that's on the
New
15th.
board.
Right, new board
Yeah.
member.
Monday. The other thing, too, is that we need to schedule a time for Mr. Barnes and Ms. Shoemate to meet with Dr. Bracey and myself and the vice chair. What we'd like to do is to take our operational manual that we have as a board. We'd like to meet with y'all and review that. These are the guidelines, procedures that this board has adopted. So I'll get Dr. Bracey to schedule a time that was convenient. Okay. All right. We're not going to have any board members' reports. I just want to welcome our two new board members and thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity to serve you again as your chair. And Ms. Williams, thank you again for your continuous service. And we thank you very much. And welcome, Vice Chair. All right. Do we have any other business to come before Ms. Williams?
The only other thing is a reminder on the February 5th, the governance meeting with
Yes.
DSBA.
Right.
Is that going to be here?
Yes, it's going to be on the
3
third
o'clock?
floor in the school board conference room.
Oh,
It's 3
And
to
that's
3 to
mandatory for all of us.
yes, 3 to 7.
Yes, and I'm glad she said that. That is mandatory. We don't have a choice, so you need to get with your employer to take leave, because that was done from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock to help those of you that have a situation. We all, and that's going to be on the 3rd floor in the conference room. And we don't have a choice. This is not the SBA. This is the Virginia State Board of Education, but it's going to be conducted by the SBA.
Oh, is that right?
And then also as well, while I have the email pull up, February 25th is our joint meeting.
I was
Okay, I just had the email pulled up. I'm sorry, didn't mean to jump in.
no. That's fine.
If you did it, yeah.
For the new board members, we'd like to have it as more than just one time. But the February 25th is the joint meeting with the school board and the city.
Awesome.
So that will be, and I think, Dr. Tracy, I think that's.
Do we take this home? We keep this here?
You can take this home and take that home.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
I'll take it home.
Aye.
Those of you who don't know.
I want it, but I don't.
I was gonna say,
You want it. Okay.